That's what I mean by "Are you broke?" Because I started without a father. I started with a man in my life who didn't want anything to do with me or my mom. Uh,
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the speaker lineup series for the greatest year of your life 2019. I have a special guest with me here today. His name is Aaron Huey. And if you're not familiar with Aaron Huey, not only are you going to get familiar with him right here, right now, but he's also going to be a guest speaker again, I think for the third or fourth year in a row at the greatest year of your life 2019. And we can't be more excited to have him back. What's up, Aaron? Well, it's been a fun road. I've known you for the last probably 8 or 9 years. I think I attended one of your events,
Awaken the Hero.
Awaken the Hero, and I just loved everything about you. Your energy, your presence, the intensity that you bring, but the heart that you bring with it. There was just everything about you just resonated with me, and I'm glad we've stayed connected over the years to watch you continue to fly. So before we kind of jump into this content around, are you broke? Are you broke? I'd love for the people watching to get a kind of an understanding of who you are and where you came from. So why don't you start us off with what you're up to and the impact you're making?
Great, thanks. As always, man, for the last 8, 9 years, I've loved watching you grow your business with so much integrity, honesty, and love for the people who come through your programs. I've stayed connected to a lot of your participants, and have reconnected with some very old friends through your work, Misto and Mythica. It's been wonderful. So thanks for what you do. That's what I mean by "Are you broke?" Because I started without a father. I started with a man in my life who didn't want anything to do with me or my mom. Then as I grew older, was adopted by an amazing dad, and my mom worked her butt off, and my dad worked his butt off. I really lost any type of intrinsic value. I was very happy to be loud and obnoxious and draw attention, because attention equaled worth. And people's applause, it looked like value. It looked like currency to me. If I made people laugh, if I made people cry, being on stage, it felt like currency. But I was pretty unhappy doing that, and ended up dealing with a lot of drugs and doing a lot of drugs and growing my own drugs and selling drugs to children, and really bottomed out in 1998. Being at rock bottom, having that experience of living in the back of my truck during the week and sleeping at the South Boulder Rec Center in Boulder. Happy to say I was into a covert camping before it was popular, but it wasn't as cool as that, because I would pick up my daughter from school and have her until my ex-wife got home, and my daughter remembers us going fishing at that time, and I was trying to eat. And that experience of being broke, of being destitute, what really strikes me now on the other side of moving through addiction and mental health issues and just the life that's not working, is what it's like to increase your value, and what it's like to own your self-worth and see your self-worth and your value attached to everything you do. Currently, my wife and I founded one of the most successful adolescent teen treatment centers. It's residential. Kids live at our facility from ages 12 to 17 years old. And they're treated for drugs, alcohol, self-harm, depression, anxiety. Kids who are really struggling with some family issues, some school issues, even some legal trouble. We put together a place for these kids to increase their self-worth. And that, on top of my other businesses, we own a real estate company. We own lots of properties, and I have my speaking business. So having a few companies and watching those companies become successful, watching my bank account grow, watching how that financial worth affects my feelings of self-worth, with then turns and affects my financial worth, but then really starting to see the physical values that I establish, and the mental values, and the emotional values, and the spiritual values, and that value and self-worth is really a pretty extensive topic. And then you're about to turn 50 years old and having all of that come into question again just by simply going through this dark death and rebirth experience myself of what am I going to do when I get older, and finding the answer and finding that passion reemerge again, and how that's a much higher value than I've ever established for myself. And how I'm going to change this to match that instead of changing that to match this. And that's a big piece about being broke emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, is changing this to meet that versus changing that to meet this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm loving you say here up front is that there's a direct correlation between owning your own value and worth, and also the financial well-being that reflects that. Is that accurate to say? And maybe can you expand on that a little bit more? Because the topic that you're speaking on is called owning your value and worth.
Yeah.
I just love what we're exploring here.
It has to be, because all I have seen and everything that I've done and all the businesses that I've had that have failed, the businesses that I've had that succeeded, is that my body is my business. I can go back to look at my failures and see how my body in those times, or my mind wasn't working correctly. The idea of to take care of business when you're not taking care of your body, to take care of your children and you're not taking care of yourself, to take care of your marriage but not taking care of anything that is so personal and real to this physiological experience that you're going through. That's a big deal. So your body is your business. Your self-worth is the worth of your business. And I think people struggle to see the correlation because we like to paint other people's success as some sort of luck or special magic strategy that they have discovered, or that someone had gifted them something to invest with. And while that might be true, it's a very small part of what being an entrepreneur or being someone in personal business is that you work for this. You get out there and every day you have to make something happen. And to have the body to do that, to have the personal health to do it, you're going to get sick. You're going to get injured. That's not what I'm talking about. But as far as your finances go, it's as far as your body can go. As far as your mind can go, it's as far as your body can go. And if you don't put a lot of worth and value in how you feel, I'm not talking about how you look or how much you weigh. I'm talking about how you feel. And if you don't put the highest value on how you feel on a daily basis, your bank account's going to reflect it.
Yeah, so beautifully said. Each year, as the greatest year of your life is coming closer and closer, it sort of has this beautiful natural unfolding that happens. And there seems to be a common theme each year that sticks out. And it seems that this year, the common theme is what we're talking about here is about owning your own value, owning your self-worth, and also allowing yourself to receive the financial well-being that comes from owning your value and worth. So, Aaron, I know you're a master around helping people shift their psyche to become more confident. Tell us about your thoughts on, where do we sort of lose our self-worth along the way? Where do we give that up for whatever reasons we do?
I think that's a great question, because a lot of people that we know, your story, my personal story, a lot of us come from wounded backgrounds, wounded childhood. Something happened to us in college. Something happened to us as a child. Something happened to us before we were born. Something happened to us in our young adulthood, and that trauma. How when something happens to us, and it's like the dragon coming into the village, man. It's not that like the village said, hey, if there's any dragons out there, come do this, come slaughter all the cattle so that we can't nurture ourselves, and come take the princess, which symbolizes our innocence and hope for the future, and by golly, go rob the castle of all its gold and jewels, because that's our self-worth. That's how we measure. The dragon comes into life, and when the dragon keeps returning to the village starts to identify itself as the village that has a dragon. And the truth is, we've all got dragons. And if you've got a perfectly white sheet But up in that corner, there's a small blue stain. Your eyes focus on the stain, and you might have this wonderful life. I had an amazing dad. I had an amazing mom, but my father had abandoned me as a kid. And that's where my focus was, because it was the most, and here's the real rub, George, is that little abandonment piece for me became such the focus. It became a part of my identity, right? I became the village that was attacked by a dragon. Aaron was abandoned by his father. And so I saw that cycle begin to repeat itself, right? Because if I believe that that's what I'm worth, if I establish my value point is he is worth abandonment, he is worth abandoning, she is worth raping, he is worth abusing, and if that's where we establish our value, then we begin to repeat the cycle. And you can see this with very wealthy spiritual, physical, mental, emotional people. Is that when they establish a higher value, that higher value thing keeps repeating. And I'll get into where I am at my life right now, where I have this financial thing that I'm hitting up against a wall. It's a much bigger number than it used to be, but it's still a wall. There's still not an infinite abundance like I've been told exists. And when I really identified what that was, it's like, oh, now, that's just what I told the universe I'm worth now. And the universe is just saying, as you wish, as you wish. This is what I'm worth, as you wish. Simple statement. This is what I'm worth. And so life begins to give you exactly what you've said you are worth. For me, breaking free from that stuff, I went bankrupt in 2009. And I remember Christmas of 2009, watching my two teens open $150 worth of whatever I could afford, $75 for each of them. And knowing that I had been telling the universe one thing, but believing another. Knowing that I had been saying all my affirmations, but inside, I was still only worth abandonment, because right before that, a business partner had abandoned me and taken our contract. Right before that, the economy had collapsed and all my clients had abandoned me so that they could go and focus on paying their mortgage and buying groceries. But that abandonment cycle just hit me again. And all of a sudden, here I am Christmas morning. I said, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm standing outside barefoot in the snow. The neighbors are looking out their window. My kids are crying inside at Christmas. I got tears streaming down my face. My wife is like, what the? And I'm screaming at the world, I'm done. I'm done. And the universe says, as you wish. And I had an opportunity to reestablish my value. So here's what starts to happen, right? I up the level of value. You know what? Actually, this is what I'm worth. And my children are worth this. So I got to up that game even more. My marriage is worth this. So you up the value in your bank account. Everything starts to lift up and it reflects your new statement of self-worth. And what happened as I hit this wall, now that I'm going 50, I'd hit 7 digits. In 7 years, I'd made $12 million. There's this, with all my businesses put together, it's been wonderful. And then I started hitting this place. It's like, all right, how come it's not expanding beyond that? It's not that I need more. I'm just wondering, how come I'm hitting the ceiling? My business needs more. My business needs upgrading. The property needs more. So I got to make more. But I keep hitting this upper wall. And I realized, and this was the real rub that I was talking about, that all these things that established my identity, the abandonment of a father figure, of a business partner, of clientele, suddenly that wasn't a motivating factor in my success anymore. I had moved on. I had blown my karma. I have helped enough people in this world that the guilt I had around selling drugs to them had paid out, right? I paid society back. Done my worth, and I don't need revenge against an old business partner. I am so much more successful than he could ever dream, and his self-worth reflects that. I don't hate my father anymore. He's dead, and now he's everywhere, and I talk to him constantly. And suddenly I lost my identity. All those reasons why I had become what I had become was because I was the abandoned boy, and I was the business partner who got jilted, and I was this and I was that. All those reasons are gone, and I didn't have anything to establish the new worth from. And I really had to sit in a pretty dark place, in a natural place, to figure out when do you become worth your weight in gold? In gold, not in silver, not in copper, in gold. What is it going to take for you to see yourself and the success that you've had as something that's so much bigger and so much more pure than anything you could have ever imagined? When are you going to be worth your weight in gold? What's it going to take? And it suddenly dawned on me that, you know, there's faith, and I have faith, and there's hope, and I have hope, but there's also charity. I've been giving to charity, but I hadn't started in with philanthropy. And that's it. That was it. That was the epiphany, is that, oh, you gotta give it away. And so the next part of my life is going to be focused on putting kids who can't afford to go to treatment through treatment. And already I feel the entire universe expanding. Already limits that we had in bank accounts are being blown out, and it's effortless because I've just said, you know what? I'm worth my weight in gold. And I believe it. The abandonment, the trauma, the drama that gave me identity, it's over. I'm done. And it's unbelievably freeing. It was a frustrating, depressing process to go through, but on the other side, baby, it's golden. It's
This is
gold. It's pure gold.
This is so just powerful. Like, I'm just sitting here and leaning in and just soaking in what you're saying. And for those of you who are watching this, Aaron has quite a powerful ability to channel. And if you don't know what channeling is, it's when you sort of move the ego out of the way and you allow that infinite source of intelligence to flow through you and all your experiences and everything that you've learned along the way in a very clean, beautiful way. And so I can't wait to hear more about this topic and your transformations at the event. So it's almost like there's two ways that I'm kind of picking at this. The first one is, initially, your pain was your greatest fuel for success.
Has to be, right? Your pain is the path. The wound is the way. The tears are the trail. That's how you're going to get where you want to be with this version that where you are and where you want to go. It's going to go down the pain path. The thing that's hurt you the most, well, that's your dragon that's burnt your village. That's a dragon that's cut you and scarred you. You've got to sit with your dragon to break through that first level of self-worth. You got to head in the cave of the innermost self with your warrior, and you got to battle that dragon. It sucks, but you will establish who you are and what you're worth when you take all that gold that the dragon has stolen from you again and again when you take it back.
So powerful, because I think it's definitely true in my experience. Looking back, some of my most painful experiences created the fuel for me to want to achieve more. And then along the way, I kind of had my kids, and that created a whole new why in my life of why I was going after, and then just up level powerfully over the last few years since I've had them. And it sounds like something very similar in your case.
Yeah, and then once again, you get to that point. And while you've got kids, you're going to watch how your dragon's like, oh, okay, watch me lay eggs over here in your kid's bed, and you're just like, those are my dragon's, kid. You get your own, and that's the next battle for the next years. And now my kids are both in college, living on their own. One's in another country, the other's 6 hours away, and they're doing their own thing, man. They're grokking their own businesses and bands and boyfriends and girlfriends and just navigating life without me. And my wife and I are doing amazing. And then all of a sudden, I'm in a box. I'm back in a box. And I'm like, how? All I do is coach people on how to get out of this box. And I bust out of this box and I'm in a box. How did I get in this box? And it's because the universe is always listening to you. And it takes time. Look, you can start with the affirmations and the mantras. And I'll be telling your people there, like affirmations are a daily thing for me. And I have figured out a way to do it while I'm at the gym, moving my body so that no one else at the gym thinks I'm crazy. But I am repeating over and over and over what's going on for me. And it has built me to this point. And that's the key. This point. And you reach this point and you're like, okay, everything I've done has got me here. I did, George, I've lived my life like a warrior. It got me here. And all of a sudden, when I got here, I realized warriors don't grow old. Not the good ones anyway. They die in battle. They give their whole life to their cause. And so that whole last part of my life has been dedicated to getting here. It's going to be the wizard that takes me to the next level. I'm not comfortable with that, but I get it. I understand it. And that next, learning how to invest, not in the stock market. I've been investing in the stock market for years. In the stock market, and then in how much stock I put in the importance of taking care of myself, of my mind, of reversing the aging process, of finding the cholesterol level down. And at the time that I do that, the same time that I increase my investment in my self-care, I watch my bank accounts fill up with money. I watch these things just expand. And it becomes effortless, like a wizard. And the wizard's not, let's do it, let's go. A wizard's like, and it's done. And it happens because you know how to talk to the universe.
You bring up something so important, and it's the correlation between investing in yourself and sort of what shows up financially in our world.
This year, part of hitting the ceiling, one of the personal investments that my wife and I have made on ourselves is that we've brought on a coach. And our coach is not cheap, because I have a very, very clear policy that if I'm going to coach somebody, I have to be more successful than they are. And if someone's going to coach me, they have to be more successful than I am. And in finding that coach, she didn't come cheap, but it's one of the reasons why she's more successful, is that she understands the value of what she's teaching. And that was a major, major investment, especially in this past year, of how we're going to bust out of this box and really get into this next place. But it's an investment. Seminar. Yeah, go.
Yeah. Would you be willing to share how much you've invested in this new coach to take you above that ceiling that you were hitting?
Yeah, she's $50,000 a year.
50 grand. 50 grand. So I think it's just important for people who are watching this to kind of absorb that for a moment. You know, Aaron has grown his self-worth and reconnected with it, embodied it in a new way, and understands that when he invests in himself or in his business like this, talk about the returns and the patience required for something like this, because you won't see instant gratification from it. But tell us a little bit about the importance of patience in this process.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there's a big part of me when we had one of our initial consultations. Myself and this business coach made it very clear that I need to see that money return in the first quarter. And what I expect, you know, which means that if I'm going to spend that kind of money, then I need to make that much money every quarter to replenish that. I need, you know, I want to be clear. This makes it sound like, you know, I've just got all this money to throw around. That fee is coming out of savings of all my companies, because I saved money in each of my companies. It's coming out of some of my stocks, because that's important to me. The purpose of this is to increase my personal worth. Not just my self-worth, all of it, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, all of it. This has to increase all of it. She's got to be up on her game on all of this stuff. And we vetted. This was a good 3-month vetting process to make sure she was the right. I talked to maybe 8 of her current clients and previous clients. And 2 of the 8 making more than I do. And the other, what impressed me was how fast they went from 0 to making 6 figures very, very quickly by following this woman's process. So I'm not a good employee. I'm not very good at following other people's instructions. That's never been my but that's my commitment to this investment, is that I'm going to do what she says, because everybody who has seemed to have increased their personal worth. So this was a big one. This was not an easy ching, ching, ching. Nothing is that for me. I don't buy new cars. I buy used cars. I don't fly first class. I fly coach. When I see Levi's go on sale, that's when I buy Levi's. I'm wealthier than I have been because I don't mismanage my money like I did when I went bankrupt. I pay off my credit cards each month. I use those miles to pay off those trips that I've used to invest in my marriage and my personal health. But that's because I value my time and I value my money. I value myself. I value my marriage. And most of all, I value my kids.
Yeah, super powerful. So I can't wait for you to unpack this at the greatest year of your life, 2019. For those of you watching, might be interested in attending, go to GYOYL.com. And we have a limited number of seats. It's in an epic venue at the top of the Courtyard Marriott in Denver Cherry Creek area. Yeah, panoramic views of the mountains and the skyline. It is just an epic place to get your year started. So we've been doing this event since 2011. It started off as just a 2-hour vision board event, and we've evolved it into a transformational 3-day event that will now have 200 people at the next event. So, and recently we had some big news. We booked John Asraf to speak on day 1, which is really big news. And guess what his topic is? His topic is winning the game of money. And so there's definitely a theme that's starting to kind of birth itself here as we talk to Aaron about owning your value, owning your self-worth as it relates to increasing your financial well-being. So a lot of correlations here. I'm very excited to see the shifts, the breakthroughs, and the transformations that are going to come from the audience this year. Aaron, we got to wrap up, but you want to share any last words of wisdom here about somebody's watching and they sort of maybe hit their own version of rock bottom and they know they need to rise up and they know they need to own their own worth. What would you say to this person watching?
And I'm going to tell the full story at the event, because one thing I've always loved to do and what I've always admired about you is the transparency that you've offered about your own life. So I'm going to share with the participants the story of what I went through with you. And in the moment where my midlife crisis came to a crashing head on an email exchange or a messenger exchange with George. And I'm going to tell that story because what came from that experience, George, was just a beautiful connection with you, number one. And number two was the eye-opening moment, that third eye-opening, in saying, what you have is what you've communicated to the universe that your value is. There is no way around that. There is no lying through it. There's no tricking yourself into believing that somehow the universe has misread your intentions, thoughts, affirmations, and your motivation. It's a very clear message. And that sucks. That sucks a lot when you're struggling to hear that it's all your fucking fault. Now, I wanna be really clear about something. When we're victimized by other people, that's not our fault. When we're victimized by life, when the economy tanks and our business craps out on us, that's not our fault. But what we do next is. And I understand how big, impactful things in our life can create our identity. And we spend all day, online and offline, communicating to others who we are. And every time we do that, we are communicating our value and our self-worth. We are communicating self-concept. And it is attached by an unbreakable red ribbon to our self-worth. Concept and worth are equal. Your body is your business. And in that moment, when I was just so frustrated with George and I'm going to say so much to him, I was at the gym lifting weights, and the universe said, George is just saying yes. That's all he's ever said. And I'm like, shut up, universe. And I realized it was all on me again. But the freedom of that, the freedom to then break free from all the shit that I've been communicating to the universe and start focusing what I want is the what is the will trying to manifest. Everything you want is what your will is saying. Yes, that's what you're worth. But we don't listen. We go back to, well, I'm the kid who was abandoned by his father. And it's not true. You are who you say you are. It says in the Bible, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you. Every faith, every religion says, we're listening. The universe is listening, and it only has one response: as you wish. So that's my advice for someone who's feeling down and out. It's on you to get up and in.
Mic drop. I mean, you should just pick up your mic right now and just drop it. So if you're watching this and you can get the sense of what Aaron's talking about, where he's coming from, and the transformation you'll experience in being with him live, check out GYOYL.com. Come and join us for 3 days. Greatest Year of Your Life is the premier transformational event in Colorado. And we guarantee that you'll have an amazing experience. In fact, you come to day one, and if it's not for you or it doesn't meet your expectations, we will happily refund you. We're so confident that you're going to love what you experience, that you'll stay through the 3 days, and you will. So we look forward to seeing you there. Aaron, thank you very much for your time, your energy, your effort, everything that you're bringing to planet Earth, and can't wait to rock the house with you again in January, brother.
Without a doubt, man. Can't wait. I love you, dude.
Love you too, man. All right, everybody. We want to love up on you with the greatest year of your life. Go to GYOYL.com, and we'll see you there.